Welcome, Dave Dravecky. So good to see you. Welcome to Angels and Demons Podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 3, Panoramic Views. Thank you so much for coming on our show. This means more than you will ever imagine.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. You are a man that I look up to more than anybody in this world, besides maybe my father and Jesus himself. At 8 years old, having T-cell leukemia, I thought multiple times I was going to die. And you were the core, as you can see around me, is all your stuff from your ministry, Outreach of Hope, from Rosa writing personal letters, I have personal letters from you to encourage me as a young man to fight. I just don't even have words to really describe what you did to me. For our audience, though, I was wondering if you would be so kind just to give them a little bit of intro, because you played for the San Diego Padres from 1982 to 1987. And then you played for the San Francisco Giants from the 1987 to the 1989. So if you'd be so kind just to tell us a little bit about just some career highlights that started your career.
Yeah, I guess you could go all the way back to, like many of us as little boys, we have dreams. And back when I was growing up, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. And my two heroes were Sandy Koufax and Vida Blue. And so I literally wanted to grow up to be just like them. Had no clue whether or not that would ever become a reality. But then I found myself in high school and things were going pretty well in the amateur settings. And all of a sudden, after my senior year, my coach said, "Hey, I think you can play at the next level." The only problem, Vinny, was there was no one in the entire country that recruited me to play for them at the college level.
Wow.
And so I ended up being a walk-on back in my hometown of Youngstown, Ohio, where I was born and raised. And I went to Youngstown State University and played 4 years for the YSU Penguins. And so, after 4 years of college ball, and I ended up being drafted in the 21st round by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the first leg of my dream had become a reality. So it was a really cool experience.
What did that feel like?
I think it's too hard to describe in words because for me, it really was for love of the game. When I played for love of the game. And when I signed my minor league contract, there was nothing more evident in that statement than when I signed that contract, because that contract was only $500 a month.
Wow.
So I wasn't playing for the money. I wasn't playing for the money. I was playing for love of the game. And I played for $500 a month. And I felt like, my gosh, I've arrived. They're paying me to play a kid's game. And so for the next I was in the Pirates organization for the next 3 years. And then all of a sudden, I guess another highlight in my career was in the spring of 1981. I was working out with the AAA team for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And there was about a week left in camp. And a group of us were sitting around talking about if we never made it to the big leagues with the Pittsburgh Pirates, where would we want to go? And one of the guys piped in and said he thought the San Diego Padres would be the best place to go. And we all looked at him and said, well, why the Padres? And he said, well, I heard if you don't get to the big leagues with the San Diego Padres, they're AAA teams in Hawaii. And so we all kind of thought to ourselves, man, Hawaii would be a great gig.
Yeah.
A couple days pass, and all of a sudden the farm director comes in to the clubhouse after workouts, and he calls my name. And one of two things are going to happen when your name's called. You're either traded or released. And I didn't want either to happen because I was born and raised in Youngstown, which is only an hour and 15 minutes from Pittsburgh. In fact,
if I could, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but so the audience understands, from 1922 to 2025, there are 9 Major League Baseball players that have been drafted from the state of Ohio, especially that area that you're talking about. So Dave Dravecky is 0.0001% chance of this opportunity coming about, which is amazing in itself. It's a miracle. The odds, there aren't like a ton of baseball players that come from Youngstown, Ohio. There just isn't.
Yeah, and I actually know 2 of them personally because they were teammates of mine when I played at Youngstown State University. And it was Billy Sattler and Mike Glenassetz. And And I went to high school with Mike, and Billy Sattler went to a different high school in the area. But we're 3 of the 9. So
3 of the 9.
Yeah. So anyway, so here I am, and I'm now confronted with the farm director comes into the clubhouse and he calls my name. And I'm like, oh, no, what's going to happen? And he looked at me and he said, we've traded you. And I was so disappointed because I wanted to be that close to home and play for the Pirates in the big leagues. But I can't tell you how hard it was to hold back a smile when this guy looked at me and said, we've traded you to the San Diego Padres. Because now all of a sudden I'm thinking, man, Hawaii, here I come, And so
that's hilarious.
When I stood there, Vinny, he looked at me and he said, well, I want you to know that the Padres are going to be shipping you off to Amarillo, Texas. And I thought, yeah. So I was getting demoted in the trade. Instead of staying with the AAA team that I was working out and getting traded to the AAA team for the Padres, I got demoted to the AA team for the Padres. And I found myself, instead of Hawaii, in Amarillo, Texas, of all places.
That's very bizarre.
Yeah, really bizarre. But it wasn't bizarre, because when you think about the next moment in my life, it really revolves around being in Amarillo, Texas, because the most important thing that happened to me there was that at the same time I was traded, my teammate Byron Ballard was traded from the Yankees to the Padres and shipped to Amarillo. We became roommates.
Wow. What a coincidence.
And he's a follower of Jesus, and I think I am.
Well, I think I am too. I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, every day, I give it all to him. I wake up, Jesus, here I am,
Yeah.
I'm a vessel. That's incredible. So here you guys are together now.
Yeah. So we're together, and he challenges me through the course of our getting to know each other. And I started asking questions about his faith, because I went to church and I thought, well, I think I'm a Christian. I believe I'm a Christian, but I'm not sure. And so with that, he challenged me one day. He said, hey, look, you've said you're a Christian. Would you be open to reading the Bible to discover who you are in relationship to God?
Wow.
And I thought to myself, why wouldn't I? If I think I'm a Christian, then I would more than be willing to open up the Bible and start reading it. The only problem,
and
Vinny,
how old were you at this time?
I was 25 years old.
25.
And the only problem was I had never read the Bible in my life.
Wow.
And so now I go on this journey, and Byron so graciously with me just said, look, come to me if you're confused, if you have questions, and I will try and get you the answer. But if I don't know it, then we'll go find somebody that does.
Incredible.
So he didn't come across as somebody who knew it all. And the other thing that I saw was I watched a man who was not phony. He was very real. He was a very good pitcher. He came over from the Yankees, and his record was 17-7.
Wow.
And they traded him. So he comes over, and I watch this guy play, and I'm like, there's something different about this kid.
Yes.
It's almost like he's playing for somebody else instead of himself.
Yes.
And so with that, we began a journey together and reading through the scriptures. And my wife was there with me, so she was joined in on this journey.
That's so
and
cool.
As we started reading the scriptures, we started discovering truths in the Bible that were literally causing us to rethink our entire world. And one of the passages, I guess, to sum up this particular moment in my story, comes from Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8-10. And it says, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no man can boast. Amen. For we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So that verse encapsulates the experience of 1981 as an Amarillo Gold Sox, when I ran into God's grace, understood for the first time what it meant when Jesus went to the cross to die for my sin, and nailing that sin to the cross and setting me free from the bondage of that sin.
And as I've heard, when the tomb is empty, anything is possible. So you went from there to the San Diego Padres.
Yes, 1982.
How'd you feel?
Well, first of all, that year in Amarillo, I was 15-5.
Wow.
And I was selected the minor league pitcher of the year. So the next spring, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be awesome. I got put on the 40-man roster. And now all of a sudden, I'm going off to Hawaii to play baseball. And it was so cool. We get to Hawaii. My wife is in the last 6 weeks of her pregnancy. So our first child, Tiffany, is born there. And 2 days after she's born, I get a call from the Padres, not only congratulating me on the birth of my daughter, but telling me I'm going to the big leagues. So now I'm in the big leagues, and my dream has become a reality.
Yes.
1983, I'm in an all-star game. 1984, we go to the World Series. I get traded, yeah, it's so cool. 1987, I get traded from the last place Padres to the first place Giants. That year, I pitched that year in the second half. I had probably the best second half of my entire career.
Because of your cutter, because you threw,
yes.
For those that do not know baseball, Dave Dravecky threw a cutter ball that redefined his generation of baseball. And would you be so kind to just explain a little bit about what a cutter ball is? When you throw as a pitcher a cutter ball.
Yes. So when I was in Amarillo, Texas, Eddie Watt was our manager. He was a retired minor league pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles back in their heyday in the 70s. And he came out of the pen, and actually he was the one that taught me in Amarillo how to throw a cut fastball, which is one of the reasons why I had so much success that year in winning 15 games. So number one, we never, back then, I mean, we talk about a cutter today like it's been around forever.
Correct.
No, Eddie Watt brought that pitch to baseball, and he taught our staff who could actually throw it, those who could throw it. And I was one that could throw it. Mark Thurman was one that could throw it. And so what we ended up learning was all it is a four-seam fastball offset in your hands with the middle finger on seam. And when you throw it, actually are throwing a fastball through the zone. So go four seams. The other, no, go turn the ball. So your four seams. Here, I've got one right here.
Okay. You're talking to an amateur here.
No, that's okay. Not a problem. I love showing this. All right. So four seams are across the horseshoe.
Okay.
Like this. Okay. Then what you do is you just simply offset it just a hair. So see how I've offset it? It's not like this. I just set it off like this, just to the side a little bit.
Okay.
And then what I do when I release it, all I'm telling myself is fastball, fastball, fastball. At the end, cut.
And why, as a left-handed pitcher, does that make it so difficult for a right-handed batter?
Because he sees the ball on the outside. What he sees is a ball coming in, looking like a four-seam fastball that ends up breaking roughly 1.5 inches to 2 inches up the bat as he makes the swing. That from the sweet part of the bat, which is what he's anticipating that fastball to be, it moves 2 inches by cutting coming in, and it literally hits the label and cracks the bat.
This sets you apart, Dave. This sets you apart. The pitching, it sets you apart because in Amarillo, Texas, you listen to this, you listen to God, you had Jesus, and you had the cutter ball. With those two things, there wasn't nothing you could do. And you know what? I mean, that's incredible just to know that somebody had the ability to have that influence on you to where a little bit of a tweak to your game could make such a big difference. But I'm just shocked.
Yeah, Vinny, here's the thing with Eddie Watt. And he did this with 24 other players on that team. And this is one of the beautiful lessons that I've taken from the game of baseball and applied to my life. Eddie Watt loved all 25 of us really well. He was for us, not for himself. Wow. He was not about his success. He was about our success. And he knew that the only way that we could be successful is if we all understood what it meant to become the best version of ourselves. And so he poured into us and his coaching staff so that we could become the best version of ourselves.
That's powerful.
Our pitching staff that year in the Texas League shattered the complete game record. That year, the complete game record up to that point over decades was 46 complete games by a pitching staff. That's unheard of today.
Unheard of.
That's unheard of. We shattered that, Vinny.
That's incredible.
We had 64 complete games that year as a staff.
That's incredible.
Do you realize with 5 guys, that's on average 12 complete games a guy?
Well, and today, to put it in perspective, that just doesn't happen.
No.
It's unheard of. I mean, what you were doing during that time was unheard of. You were at the top of your game. You know what? You believed in the impossible, and you said one thing that really struck me hard. You said you were the best version of yourself. And every day I wake up, I tell people I am incapable of being phony or fake. My name is Vinny. I get called Vinny, but Vincent Morgan, and I am who I am. And we share a very similar identity and where we are who we are. And every day we wake up, we put Christ first, and then everything else, we just let it go the way that it's supposed to be. And that's a blessing. There was one game that you played, though, for the San Francisco Giants when things were very different. Something started to change. And reading your books and reading your story, I know what that's like when life just all of a sudden starts picking a different way for you to go.
Yeah.
And tell us about that. What was that like when here you are, you're as a kid, that's all you want to do. I know as a kid, all I wanted to do is play sports. And here you did what every kid wanted to do in life, which is play baseball. You get to the highest place, the best teams. And now your dream, your aspiration, your love is taken from you.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through how, why, and where this happened?
Yeah. So when I got traded to San Francisco and ended up having that really good year in the second half, we went to postseason play in 1987 against the Cardinals. We lost that series to go to the World Series, but I had pitched 2 best games of my career. So 1988, I'm thinking it's my year. I open up against the Dodgers. I'm going against Fernando Valenzuela, probably one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game at that time. And we win 5-1. And I'm thinking, this is going to be my year. All of a sudden, I start having arm problems, totally unrelated to a small lump that's developing in my left arm. I find out that I have a partially torn bicep tendon, so I have to go in for surgery. In essence, my season is shut down. So it wasn't a good year. I was 2-2, didn't get a lot of innings in. And now I'm in an examining room because that small lump is grown to half the size of a golf ball. And my wife and I are wondering what the MRI results are going to be. And as we're sitting there, we're both under the impression that it's probably scar tissue that is torn from throwing a baseball so much, and that it's just calcified. A lot of times it's termed Blocker's bruise. And so that's what we were waiting to hear. And then all of a sudden, the doctors roll up to our room. The doors open 3 or 4 inches. They put the films up under the lights outside in the hallway to discuss what they're going to say to us. And we overhear the conversation. And in the conversation, Vinny, we hear the word cancer. And it's the first time. And we're like, oh my gosh. We were like a deer in headlights staring at each other. Did you hear that, babe? And we didn't know.
In the room when you hear it. You don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't. And so all I knew what to do was to pray. And I looked at Jan and I said, we need to pray before they come in. And I prayed a very simple prayer. It was like, God, I have no idea what we're about to face, but whatever it is, please give us the strength to endure. That's all I ask. So now they come in and they confirm that I have cancer. And in that moment, I kind of left the room, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually. I was somewhere else. And all of a sudden I started thinking about my life. And
were you angry at God at this point? Because, I mean, you went from reading the scriptures that time you had in Texas. Was there any anger that you felt at this moment?
No. No anger at all. It was, okay, what's going on? And so I'm like, okay, God, the priority right now is what's going to happen to me? And so in my humanity, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I die from this cancer, which is a very realistic thing, then who's going to marry my wife?
Wow.
And that person's going to raise my kids. Will he love my wife and children as much as I do?
No.
And then, Vinny, this thought came to my mind because I hadn't been the perfect husband or father over the prior, 7 years since becoming a believer.
You do as a baseball player is you give yourself as a provider, and it takes you away like a Navy person on an aircraft carrier. It takes you away to what you have to do to be able to be a provider, as a man for your family. I understand.
Yeah. And so the question that came into my mind in that moment was, oh my gosh, Lord, what if he loves them more than I do?
Sorry.
Because I know who I've been. And so it was a gut check. And I had to seriously consider what my life was going to look like moving forward now that I was diagnosed with cancer. So in that moment, I came back to reality. I heard the doctors say, outside of a miracle, you'll never pitch again. So my mind then shifts into this mode.
Can I pause for a sec? You just said the doctor said you will never pitch again.
Yeah, outside of a miracle, you'll never pitch again.
Wow.
And so my wife actually asked him to repeat it twice.
No, I mean, I wanted to hear it once. So because that's a powerful, for someone that loves baseball and sports as much as you and I do, to hear that, I bet your heart and your mind was just like, you're speechless. You probably were just standing blank staring.
No. Here's the really ironic thing in that. When he said that, you know what I went to? God, I respect the fact that he's a doctor, but his understanding of my story is limited. And I thought to myself, I don't know what plan you have for me in this, but I cannot walk away from it now. I've got to step into this with everything I've got. And that was the end of the thought. And then it was from there, it was, okay, what do I have to do to take care of myself? What's going to happen? What about the surgery? What comes after the surgery? And all of a sudden we stepped into that mode. Let's get healthy. And then if the doctors give me permission to try and come back, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to step into this and see if God, in fact, wants me to come back to play.
So we're in between that moment. We got 9 months, correct?
Yeah, correct. 9 to 10 months.
9 to 10 months. And through that process, then you return back to the San Francisco Giants, correct?
Correct. And August 10th, 1989.
August 10th, 1989. And then at that moment, what happened?
I'm standing on the mound getting ready to make a comeback. I've gone through all the hoops. I've been in 3 minor league games as preparation.
With a banner hanging from the San Francisco Giants Stadium, "Welcome back, Dave," with the fans standing to their feet.
Yeah, it was crazy.
On the greatest comeback story possibly in sports history.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Doctor says this was not possible for you to pitch again. 9 months later, there is Dave Dravecky on the mound pitching again. Incredible.
Yeah, it really was. It was overwhelming, Vinny. It was overwhelming. I can't put into words what it felt like standing on the mound. The only thing I can tell you is there was a song that back then when I played, it was written by Maranatha. It was a Christian band, and it was Give Thanks with a Grateful Heart. And I was listening to that song. Ironically, that cassette, this is aging me, that cassette was in the car on the way to the ballpark that day. And that song came on, and I kept playing it over and over and over. Is that the song that's like,
"Give thanks with a grateful heart"?
It is. Yes, it is. You got it.
Thanks with a grateful heart. That's a beautiful song.
Beautiful song. And so I stood on the mound, and that's exactly what I did. And 8 innings later, 93 pitches later, we defeated the Cincinnati Reds 4-3.
What?
And I got the victory. And it was overwhelming. Overwhelming to think.
Euphoric. Was it almost like a euphoric feeling? Like,
oh,
wow,
yes.
Like I just, told I can't pitch. Now I just won. I beat the
Yep.
Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Pete Rose, as a side note, Pete Rose got kicked out of the game. He was the manager. He got kicked out of the game because he thought the umpire was being sensitive towards me with balls and strikes. So he started complaining about balls and strikes. I'm like, really, Pete? You got to be kidding
I'm
me.
a really good pitcher. I just throw a really good pitch. So sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So needless to say, I'm feeling great, and everything around my story is just blowing up, and it's blowing up internationally. So now 5 days later, August 15th, which is actually today, is the 30th anniversary of the day that I threw the pitch when my arm broke.
Wait, can you say that one more time?
Today is August 15th.
Okay.
And it's the 36th anniversary of the day that I threw my last pitch in my career against the Montreal Expos.
I just want everybody to know that's watching this podcast, I didn't plan that date.
No.
Dave planned that date. God planned that date.
Yep.
And I mean,
really ironic. Yep.
Jesus is all over this in so many ways. I'm just blown away. That's incredible. Not to interrupt you. I want to hear the end of this. This is incredible.
Yeah. So that day I get on the mound and everything's back to normal. I'm back in the saddle. I'm in the rotation. I've just come off of great success. I'm nearing the end of the season and a new contract, and the club is doing well. We more than likely will go into postseason play. Wow. And so I'm standing on the mound and I get ready to pitch and everything just falls into place. First inning, I shut him down. Second inning, I shut him down. Third inning, I shut him down.
Just with
fourth
Dave
inning, just kept shutting him down, throwing the cutter. Sixth inning. So after the fifth inning, I'm in the dugout. And I feel normal twinges all the time.
Like every pitcher. I mean, I follow pitching, so I know that after a sixth inning, for people that don't watch baseball, typically going any further than that, there is a backup pitcher that comes in, even if you are way up or you're down, because that's a lot of pitches, depending on how the game's going.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going really good. My pitch count is low, but all of a sudden, I started having a little bit of trouble. And the next thing you know, Tim Raines is at the plate. I've just come in a little bit too inside to Andres Galarraga. I hit him. He goes to first base. Tim comes to the plate. I rear back and throw a fastball, sinking fastball, not the cutter, a sinking fastball. And as I release the pitch, Vinny, my left arm just explodes in my left ear. It snaps in half. And so I go falling to the ground and just writhing in pain. Will Clark races out to me and steps over me and starts telling me to breathe because I was going into shock. So I was holding my breath and I was going into shock. And so once I got to my faculties, I was actually laying on the ground thinking to myself, oh my gosh, God, what are you doing? There is something going on in my life that is so much bigger than baseball.
Wow.
And I mean, that's what I thought.
That's incredible.
And so anyway,
in your valley, you're thinking there's a bigger purpose you have for my life, God. Dave, I mean, you're so unique. I mean, you're so above the average person. You're making me feel like a bad person. I mean, that is to have thoughts like that to where you were. What a story.
Well, it's, when Jesus, and look, at that point in my life, I'd been a believer for about 7 years. So I wasn't real mature, but I wasn't real immature. I was on this journey, this path with him where I was growing in my faith. I was maturing. I was around really good Bible teachers. I was learning about my faith in Christ. I was not just knowing about Jesus, but I was actually getting to know Jesus. And so in that moment, whole different experience because I'm now, what can I do, Vinny? I can't change my circumstances. And the only option I have is to trust him.
Amen.
And why would I be upset? I remembered what the doctor told me. Outside of a miracle, you'll never pitch again. And I not only had pitched in one game, but I had pitched, that was my fourth game after the victory. And when I broke my arm, it was my 5th game. And so now I'm laying there and I'm going, there's got to be something bigger than this, because I've experienced the high and I've experienced the low.
Did you think something was done for you then? When that incident happened, did you feel like that was it? Did you feel like there was still one of those experiences where you go with your wife to the doctor and there's another remedy, another solution? Or did you, when that snap heard, which that snap is on film and you can hear it ricocheted through the stadium. I mean, it was like a 45. It was just boom. Did you think there was another opportunity, or did you sense that was the end?
After that happened, I thought there might be another opportunity. But then when the doctors said, after I saw them later, they said, we're going to have to check and see if the cancer's come back. And so when we found out the cancer had come back, we now entered into the reality that baseball was over. So I renounced my retirement that year in 1989 around Thanksgiving and began the journey with fighting the cancer that kept coming back. And so that was a very difficult season. It's really interesting. So when we go back to me breaking my arm in Montreal, Jan and I both read a devotional by Oswald Chambers that said, God gives us a vision, and then he takes us down into the valley to shape us into the vision.
Wow.
And when I said, God, what are you up to, something much bigger than baseball? He gave me a little glimpse of the vision. And in that glimpse, it was words that Bob Nepper said to me 5 hours before the game. As a teammate, he was a dear friend and a brother in Christ. And he said, Dave, this is not about the miracle of the comeback. This is about the miracle of salvation that occurred in your life back in 1981 in Amarillo, Texas. And God is providing a platform through baseball for you to share his love with those who hurt.
Wow.
So all I could hear, Vinny, were those words laying on the ground after I realized God was up to something bigger. Those words, God has provided a platform through baseball for you to share his love with those who hurt. That was the window that opened. But then 2 years after that was the valley that my wife and I went into, where he had to shape us into the vision. And I'm going to tell you what, wouldn't wish that valley on anybody.
No,
because it was hard, and you understand that.
For you was something similar to that, but valleys are places where God takes us, where sometimes we beg for mercy to be taken out of because the pain is just so much. Dave, how does it make you feel knowing that through your ministry, you've touched the life of a cancer survivor? Vincent Morgan, me. Someone who found hope and strength through your story. Did you know that there was a particular moment during your Outreach of Hope ministry that you created through this catastrophe? When I say catastrophe, it's different than what you think a catastrophe is, because from my end of it, I'm thinking, God, like I love sports. I'm obsessed with baseball. I watch it. And to have your career of something you love end, to me, as a catastrophe. You looked at it, though, as a platform, like so few do, as a blessing to support other people. But through that, Dave, I went through hell of 2.5 years of cancer and radiation. They didn't even know I had T-cell leukemia. I had a very form. Half of my face was paralyzed. And here behind me is you and your wife, all the letters that came in. Thank you so much for the letters. Everything that came in, just pouring out from your Outreach of Hope here. When you can't come back, all of this stuff just came at me. When this is where I am, right here, I'm laying in the hospital bed, I'm sick, I'm dying, and here's Dave. Nobody told you had to do this. Nobody told you had to do this, but you did it. And through this, it could be the most powerful story ever, because I remember clenching on to your baseball so hard. And I have the original baseball you sent me 27 years ago. When I went through a 3.5 hour a CT scan of scanning, and I would clench the baseball with everything I had. You really are an inspiration. And I mean, I'm just how does that make you feel knowing that you made such an impact on people like me?
It's humbling, extremely humbling, Vinny, to think that God would use our story to be an encouragement to someone like you, especially in that desperate place that you found yourself in. Because there's some things that we learned through the journey of pain and suffering. And one of them was this: whenever you find yourself in that place, to that individual, so to you, when we discovered what you were going through, the first thing we recognized is that your story is on sacred ground, and that sacred ground needs to be respected. And so for us, it was about gently entering in to provide the resources that could encourage you. For us, it was about understanding that there was someone who was hurting, and we knew who could be the one that could step into his life, even at that young age, and give him strength to endure the journey that he found himself on, to give him hope, and to love him in ways that he's probably never experienced love before. And we got the privilege on that sacred ground to express the love of Jesus to you through our resources and through people like Rosa and others on our team that prayed for you or called you or sent you a note.
Countless prayers,
countless prayers, and
motivational. When like we were just talking about the day that you threw your last pitch happened to be today. It was like I would get the letters when I was just going in for like a spine, spine marrow, or something very painful or something very difficult to fight through while having cancer. It was always like it was right in time for that. A signed baseball or a signed autograph or something. And the purpose of this podcast, so that is to carry on the legacy that you instilled in me at 8 years old. I'm 35, -8. So that's where today is, because there's a calling on my life to do exactly what you did, because life is hard and it takes us through difficult moments, and very few are unselfish enough to do what you did. And what made you feel God? How did you feel God calling you to that? Was there any distinct feeling or emotion you felt?
No, not at all, actually. It was the reality that here we are, we've gone through this tragedy. People saw it as a tragedy, but Jan and I saw it as an opportunity to be able to offer the hope that we have to others. And that hope comes through Jesus. And so for us, it wasn't about sensing something unique or supernatural from God in this pull or call. We just found ourselves in this space, and we realized so many people are out there, and many of them feel all alone in their story. And so we wanted them to know that they're not alone, and we want to be there with them in their story along that journey. And in whatever way they give us permission to be in that story. Because again, I go back to the sacred ground of people's stories, and especially when they find themselves in pain and suffering, loss of life, or whatever they're experiencing. That is sacred ground. And part of respecting that sacred ground is waiting for the permission to step onto that sacred ground with them. And so we've been compelled by God through our story and what we've experienced to see the value of using that story to help others in their story, to encourage others in their story, to offer the hope of Jesus in their story. And at the end of the day, it's what they choose to embrace, not what we give them. It's what they choose to embrace. As long as they know there's somebody out there that loves them, then there's a very real possibility that God will open the door and they will embrace the resources that we have to offer to encourage them.
So you've impacted me to carry on your ministry, and you have my promise, Dave. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. No matter how difficult it is, no matter what resistance I run into through this, even getting things set up, or no matter what it is, I will fight just like you fought through your adversities to be in a platform to bless others. I will do the same. I promise you that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome,
In
Vinny.
closing words, what message do you hope survivors take away from your journey, both as a professional athlete and who has someone who's faced cancer head on? What message of hope do you have for them?
I'm going to use a verse to answer that question. But before I do, I want to use a statement that oftentimes is just seen as a cliche, but I think both of us know the value of this verse or this particular statement. And that statement is never give up. Never give up. That means so much more to me today. And that never give up doesn't come with a promise that I'm going to get through it. Vinny, it only says stay in the fight until it's over.
Stay in the fight until it's over.
And so there's a verse that my wife and I have put to memory that is our life verse. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Paul in 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18 is encouraging the believer at the church of Corinth to understand in the midst of their persecution to not lose heart. Outwardly, we're wasting away. We all know that as we get older. Trust me, at my age today, I know.
Great. You look great.
I appreciate that, but I know that things are happening to me outwardly, but inwardly, I'm being renewed day by day through putting my trust in him. And Paul says this, the one who suffered so much, was shipwrecked, was beaten, was whipped almost to death. So much happened to him. And then he was beheaded. And he says, for my light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So the emphasis on life is about not the fact that life comes to an end, but that as we live it now, it's not only a new beginning, but it goes on for eternity with him because of what he did on the cross for us. He set us free from the bondage of sin that separates you and me from a relationship with the Father. But because of Jesus' sacrifice and the shedding of his blood that covers over all sin, we are now adopted into his family. Adopted into that family, and we will live with him forever. You and I, because of our faith in Jesus, are living in eternity, Vinny, right now, right here.
I feel good.
Yeah.
Hearing that, I feel good. I feel encouraged, and it is so powerful what you're saying. And when everything's going well, and like you said, you're on the top of your game, or you get there to Texas and this and that, but when you hit that low spot, it really defines who you are, what your identity is as a person. Because when it's all good and all sunshine, it all feels just right, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy, but you are a symbol of resilience, a man who refused to let tragedy define him. And Dave Dravecky, you will always be an inspiration for me for the rest of my life. And through that inspiration, I will do my very best, my God-given best, to pass that on of how you 27 years ago, through baseball, blessed and helped me when a time that I thought I was done. And I was washed up, and that was the end of me at 8. And here I am at 35. I promise you this, I will carry it on the best I can. And God bless you, and thank you so much for your time and just sharing your passion of your experience through your baseball journey, what it's made you today and what it is tomorrow. And what it is waking up tomorrow is special because you have so much to be grateful for. You still have a beautiful wife and family, and the
Yes.
smile on your face is just shows that Christ has really, really blessed you. I can tell that you're a very happy man.
Yes, I am.
And
Yes,
life
I am,
is
Vinny.
meant to be enjoyed. Wouldn't you agree? Life is meant to be enjoyed?
Amen. To the fullest, my friend.
Yes.
You carry it on. You remind others through your story of the significance of a journey with Jesus, through the good, the bad, and the ugly of life. You carry that banner well, my friend.
Thank
And
you.
it couldn't be in better hands. So
I
God,
appreciate that. Having
Yeah.
your blessing and going forward, I will do the very best. If I need some help along the way, if you're there to give me some coaching and guidance, it would be much appreciated because I'm not perfect. And sometimes, there might be someone that needs help in a way that I just don't know what I can, and I really want to help them. But God, do I know who to go to if I ever run into that? Dave
yes, you do.
former professional baseball player for the San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants. We welcome him. We thank him for coming on to Angels and Demons podcast. This is Panoramic Views. Why is it called Panoramic Views? Because you saw a panoramic image of his life and what Jesus is doing. Amen. Bless everyone, and thank you for joining our show. Thank you, Dave. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Vinny. You too.